Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. We're going to do a little bit of pre-roll and then we're going to get started. Sorry for the delayed start time today. I couldn't get into this, reserve this space until about 6 o'clock, and then it took me 10 minutes to get everything set up, so just took a little extra time. How's everybody doing this weekend? Oh, I forgot to get the chat window. So y'all hang out while I grab that so I can see what even everyone is talking about. Again, as always, let me know if I'm too loud or too quiet in the chat. Just grabbing the chat. So there was a poll today, or this week, about what we were going to talk about, and it came in at a dead tie, and I could not decide which topic we should use. Hey, Brooke, what's up? Oh, you guys can see my Twitter. Oh, no. Hey, Jose, thanks for coming. Let me grab the chat. Okay, perfect. Popped chat out. I couldn't decide, or the poll couldn't seem to decide. There were 32 votes, and it was split down the middle between clans, let's make a clan, and fantastic locations. And while I think both would be pretty exciting, I have a fair list of fantastic locations, so I kind of thought maybe we could spend some time talking about a couple of different clans today. We may do fantastic locations at a future date. I basically just want to brainstorm a few more ideas for cool places before I draw my big map, which I think that will also be a stream. I want to try to figure out some way to rig up the camera in such a way where it can like show all, or I can rig it where you guys can see what I'm drawing as I work on this map. Fantastic locations and where to find them. Yeah, I have a big document full of them. Hey, Alan, what's up? And they're all very loose right now, so we can definitely like develop some of those ideas. But there's this weird situation where I'm working on this campaign that I intend to podcast, but I'm worried about spoiling too many things. I know anyone who would come to the stream would presumably also listen to the podcast. And some people who come to the stream, like Alan, might even end up playing as characters in the podcast. So, we can talk about stuff, but I'm worried about spoiling certain things. Great. No, I love clans. That's perfect. That's what we're going to do. That's what I decided. I thought that would be more fun. So here's what I have. I have 3 clans that we're going to talk about today. We have Clan Oathshield, we have Clan Brightshard, and then we have Clan Mystery Clan. So there are 2 clans, the first 2 that I know will factor into the campaign in some capacity. Clan Oathshield is an underclan, and it's kind of related to it's kind of a small fry clan, a clan that we will encounter early in the campaign. Whereas Clan Brightshard is one of the 7 elder clans and is kind of a bigger mover and shaker. And then for the Mystery Clan, I thought we could just brainstorm some cool ideas and we could talk about, just make one from whole cloth. Ember Axe too. Although the thing with Ember Axe is that they're an outer clan, so I don't know how much they personally will factor in. We'll talk about it, Brooke, because I think that they're involved in a certain way because Adra's involved, but we'll have to get there. So we could talk about Ember Axe, that's cool, but I had seen them as being an exterior clan. Hey, what's up, Sean Armstrong? Dwarves are like the short version of Oh the Hell's Angels. Interesting theory there, my man. But we'll talk about it, Brooke. I think that they may end up aligning themselves with Clan Hornwinder in a way that we will discuss. So I thought we could start with Clan Oathshield, if anybody had different ideas. They do interact with humans, exactly. Whereas the other 2 clans, Mystery Clan is totally empty. I feel like we saved that one for last. Although maybe we do Mystery Clan first. I don't know what you guys think. Clan Brightshard has a lot kind of already designed. I just need to patch some holes. Whereas Clan Oathshield has lots of gaps yet still. So we'll go to the categories real quick. We'll talk about history for the clan, both their ancient history, the history that pertains to the 7 Sorrows, which is kind of the big watershed event in the campaign. It's sort of what drove all the dwarves out of Coombe, out of their ancestral homeland. Think of it as like Smaug's coming to Erebor in The Hobbit, right? And then the recent events, now that the dwarves have come back after their 500 years of exile, what how are they relating to the new political situation in Coombe? What's going on there? We have their relationship to any other clans. So Clan Oathshield, for example, is a rival to Clan Hornwinder. We'll talk about that a little bit and get into that rivalry a little more. But they are also an underclan. So they're an underclan of True Silvers, who are the royal clan that are now vanished. We have a category for politics. We have a category for prominent members. We have a category for their seat. And then we have a category for their specialty, like what's the one thing that they do that none of the other Dwarven clans do better. So Clan Brightshard has a lot of the bones of this stuff figured out, but there's still some important gaps. And then, of course, for Mystery Clan, we can talk about that. So unless anyone objects, I say we start with Clan Oathshield, just because it's first here, and it pertains the most to the Hornwinders. So if you're new to the stream, let me just quick run down the campaign premise. Basically, the players become the sort of small council in a certain sense of an upstart Dwarven monarch. There was this ancient kingdom called Coombe, where the sort of the Dwarven homeland, and about 500 years before the campaign begins, all the dwarves are driven out of Coombe due to a series of disasters called the Seven Sorrows. The veins run dry, and these white dragons move in, and the volcano explodes, and there's an endless winter, and troglodytes come boiling up from cracks in the earth. It's all these cascading cataclysms, one after another. And so all the dwarves flee, and the royal clan, the True Silvers, vanish. They sort of seal themselves up in the earth and are never seen from again. Cut to 500 years later, when an enterprising dwarf adventurer and her adventuring party managed to rediscover the entrance to her clan's old holdings and discover some secrets that I can't reveal because some of those players are here in the chat. But this kickstarts sort of a return to Coombe as dwarves come pouring back in to try to resettle their ancient home. And so most of the campaign is about this upstart dwarven adventurer making a claim for the crown. Seven Sorrows are bad. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. And so it's all about kingdom building and politics and maneuvering and these ancient rivalries between these old dwarven clans, and these dungeons need to be delved, and these ancient treasures have to be exhumed, and all these kinds of like deep, profound kingdom building themes. It's inspired very much by the sort of implication of the end of The Hobbit, where Thorin and the dwarves come back to Erebor and are now faced with this monumental task of getting the mines working again and reestablishing trade connections with, Dale and Lake Town and the Wood Elves. And Bilbo runs off back to Hobbiton, but what happens in Erebor when this occurs? So that's the sort of the overarching premise of the campaign. The players are adhered to Clan Hornwinder and follow this dwarven upstart, an adventurer named Harada Hornwinder. And so the first clan we're going to talk about, Clan Oathshield, is sort of the rival clan to Clan Hornwinder. This is a clan that has had this long-standing feud with the Hornwinders, who they see somewhat rightly as these sort of scruffy upstarts. In summary, Clan Oathshield is kind of they're sort of like the King's Guard in Game of Thrones. They're the clan that has sworn themselves to protect the king, right? The king's family, the True Silvers. Their specialty are their shields, but more specifically their bodyguards. They view themselves as not necessarily intended to rule, but intended to stand beside those who do rule and protect them from all danger. And so I think they have this very long history with the True Silver family, going back generations and generations and generations, where they have always had bodyguards, like sort of at the left hand of the Dwarven king or the Dwarven crown, ever since the beginning of the kingdom. Alan says cops. Yeah, in a certain sense, I don't see them as being like investigators or police, but I see them as being Secret Service, right? Yeah, in the Royal Guard, exactly. So a little bit of history, I guess, a lot of history about Clan Hornwinder. The Hornwinders were basically raised up. They were a clan created out of nothing. A previous queen rewarded one of her sort of sentries in one of her war camps who had spotted an enemy approaching in the middle of the night and sounded the horn and made them into a clan. And so they're very much sort of upstarted peasants, right? These people who don't necessarily deserve to have a dwarven clan or like a noble house that were given one by this previous queen. And so the rivalry, I feel like, stems from that fact that the Clan Oathshield sees themselves as a true clan but the Hornwinders as glorified peasants. They don't deserve the honors they've achieved. Hey, Rayho, thanks for coming and hanging out. They've achieved. Hornwinder is definitely new money. Yes, that's a good way to think of it, Brooke. Whereas I think then the Oath Shields are sort of old money, right? They have been adhered to the True Silvers for most of their history. I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this. I think the queen in question, it was Queen Dunya Dragonbane, elevated the Hornwinders. Dunya was sort of a warrior and specifically a dragon hunter. Dunya was a warrior and dragon hunter and saw no need for bodyguards. Thus, she did not employ them. And in so doing, disrespected Clan Oathshield. Yeah, great. Yeah, precisely. That's a very good way to think of it, Brooke. Brooke says Harada, the queen. Without the True Silvers, the Oath Shields are nothing. And so that's a big conflict that comes into the campaign, is that as Harada sort of makes a play for the crown, right, why would this small clan, this minor clan, right, the Hornwinders, deserve that space? If anyone should have that space, it ought to be the Oath Shields. So in terms of their history, we don't have anything for their ancient history. My question is, like, why? How did these dwarves, how did Clan Oathshield get this position? Was it a similar thing to the Hornwinders, where they were, like, a previous king recognized them? Is it something divine or preordained? Like, what is their origin story? How did they come to be the clan that protects the True Silvers? We have to figure out what they did during the Seven Sorrows, when everything was sort of going to shit in Coombe. Would they have stayed? If the True Silvers sealed themselves away, that's a good point. The True Silvers sealed themselves away. So one of the Seven Sorrows is the fact that the True Silver clan kind of fell from grace. The king at the time, King Carouge, the Crazed, went mad, and is essentially a very, mad king, King Aerys II in Game of Thrones, right? They're very similar figures. Went mad and locked himself and his clan within his secret vault. His secret vault, never to be seen again. Why didn't the True Silvers, why didn't the Oath Shields go with them? Yeah, sorry for all the info dump, guys. A lot of this is. Why don't the True Silvers attend to their own security? Are they unable to? That's a great question, Alan. I'm not sure. I feel like it's a sign of their loyalty, right? Like, it's meant to be an indication. First thought was Legend of Zelda. Princess Zelda has an incarnation of the hero with her. Maybe that's the Oath Shields to the True Silvers. Oh, that's interesting, Brooke. Do Oath Shields fill some niche created by some failure of the True Silvers? I think that's cool. Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like the True Silvers are, above it. You know what I mean? They don't consider themselves, that's... Who would dare assault them, right? There had to have been some kind of an incident or something like that where it first happened. Brooke, you're saying it's like a divine man, that every time there's a True Silver king, that there's an Oath Shield that's divinely born, reincarnated to protect them, that they would see them almost as being soulmates or something like that. I had always seen the Oath Shields as being kind of like the King's Guard, and that there were 7 or 10 or 12 of them or whatever. That way they could form a phalanx. But the idea of paired, each monarch has an Oath Shield that protects them is kind of neat. Why didn't the Oath Shields go with them? Let me go here under True Silver. What kind of deficiency do you think that might be, Alan? I think that's an interesting idea. Why don't the True Silvers protect themselves? Why outsource to another clan. I think in the back of my head, there was I think I was inspired by this book I read when I was like 10 or 11. You guys remember the Artemis Fowl books, which are not necessarily great books, but in the Artemis Fowl series, I only read the first one when I was like 10. My mom gave it to me. But the really fascinating thing that I liked is that there were these two families. There's the Fowl family, who are like these like aristocrats, and then they are like they're bonded to another family, the Butler family, literally the Butler family, who like protect them. It's kind of like a Frodo Samwise thing, right? Where it's like the aristocracy and then the serving class. And I feel like that's kind of what we're reflecting here, is that these two families have gone down, through history together, and one family has always served the other family. And the way they serve them is as a guard. Oh, hey, David, what's up? Yeah, I think David's hitting on it right there. Alan says, how many people are there in a clan? That's great. Some incident happened to the True Silvers. I like that. Over time, people thought it was divine. That's cool. Yeah, I read the first one a really long time ago, and honestly, like all the fairy stuff didn't stick with me very much, which I feel bad because that's like the whole premise of the thing. But I like the idea of like the 10-year-old evil genius and his like enormous muscle-bound bodyguard. That's what I thought was cool about the series. I don't really care about the stupid leprechauns or whatever. But if other people like that, not to shit on it, but when I remember as a kid, I was really fascinated by that. I was like, who are these characters? And they're kind of swept under the rug. If the later books get any better, let me know. Let me answer Alan's question. So it's a little complicated, and this is some of the stuff I haven't quite hammered out yet, but my thinking with the clans, the way they're organized, is that you have an elder clan, which is, again, think of like a noble house or like a ruling house in Game of Thrones, and then it has a bunch of underclans. It has, 5 to 6 to 3, depending on that particular moment in history. And these other clans basically pay taxes up to the elder clan, and the elder clan then pays taxes to the crown. The clans are not family groups in the way that you and I would think of, that like we would think of a family group. Not everyone inside the clan is blood related to everyone else. It's more like a town, right? So there are probably like loose connections. One member of the clan might be distantly related to somebody else, but most of the time they will marry inside that clan. So the smallest clan in Coom is probably around 100. The larger clans, and those tend to be the elder clans, because the idea is that whenever you marry, you always want to marry up. You want to marry into a better clan. So what ends up happening is that people leave these lower clans to marry into the elder clans. The elder clans swell in size. So, there are probably thousands, if not tens of thousands. Tens of thousands seems like a lot. It's probably thousands of members in an elder clan, and then hundreds of members in the underclans. Does that make sense? Ancient boon. The True Silver booned the Oathshield founder family for their bravery with the True Silver lives, and thus the oath was born. I kind of like that. The True Silver's not as battle-hardened then, like their families' places in the council room. It's too risky to have them battle. I think it's a little bit of both of those. I think that they have an army, but I think that what Oathshield does... Sorry, the True Silvers have an army, but I think Oathshield is better at that, like, tireless, day-to-day bodyguard security stuff, right? That, like, that's the thing. Like, they train... I think it's a lot about... Let's go to their specialty. They make incredible shields... Yes. Can you guys see that? Okay, cool. But the true power and prestige of the Oath Shields is their defensive training. Their phalanx is second to none. So let's try to synthesize these ideas here. So Jose says an ancient boon, and I think there's something cool. I think like some kind of a divine or like legendary, especially in their ancient history, like a legendary mandate, I think is cool because it gives them this sense of entitlement, right? It isn't just like, okay, they told us we should be bodyguards or we have the best bodyguards. It's like we are divinely mandated to do this. And so that adds a lot of extra oomph to their, again, they would see that as their job, right? Not just they would see that as their like divine right would be to protect the king and to be this sort of important house. Legend of the Shield Hero anime vibe. I've never seen that. Is Oathshield Sparta minus the slavery? I mean, I don't know if they're quite Sparta. There's another clan that's super like that. The Lodestone clan is that way. But I definitely think that they are much more militaristic than your average clan. We'll put that under... Oh, there should be a philosophy section here as well. philosophy. Militaristic. They make shields, but their primary focus is the use of the shields. Yeah, I dig that. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely very militaristic. That's totally there. And this is what's tricky, guys. So please, if you suggest something and I don't quite go for it, it's not because I don't think it's a good idea. It's because I've already got a bunch of these other clans sketched out, and we want to make sure we don't like step on the toes of other ones. So a lot of these ideas are great, but oh, for sure, yeah. And the phalanx is like the backbone of the Dwarven military machine, right? They're all about the shield wall. Is service and sacrifice their thing? Yes, that's cool. Benefit? Yes, that's perfect, Alan. Service and sacrifice their thing. Big fans of the hierarchy they depend on, putting themselves in harm's way on behalf of their partner clan. Bingo. That's it. That's huge. All about service and sacrifice. As bodyguards, they view their own lives and their own existence as secondary to that of their monarch or liege. That plays into why they hate the Hornwinders. So the Hornwinders are putting their own glory first. They're saying like, we are as good as one of these elder clans, when they're, you know, that's anathema to the Oath Shields. It's all about being in your place. It's all about standing in the wall, right? Like, you can't charge forward because you're supposed to stand here shoulder to shoulder with your brothers. Individuality is discouraged. Everyone has a duty that must be performed, and to break away from that duty is to abandon your, I don't want to say brothers, right? Like your comrades. There you go. That's perfect, Alan. Yep, it's all about service and sacrifice. So something legendary. A boon. I've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves, so I think the poon is on the brain. A poon, which is what we call the harpoon in Sea of Thieves. Yeah, the poon. A boon or a divine mandate. I mean, like, I think there was some kind of an incident, right? Like, something with the gods, or what happens when the strongest shield meets the hardest lance? We don't know. There's nothing stronger or harder than our shields. Yeah, that's cool. There is no shield as hard as honor, right? Yeah, that's cool. We can come back to the history. I think we're still kind of like chewing on it. Something about a divine mandate or a boon, like a. How did you word it before? The True Silvers booned the Oath Shield founder family for their bravery with the True Silver lives. So that does imply that like something happened, right? There was some incident that an Oath Shield dwarf. I mean, probably at this point we're talking ancient history, so it would have been like another True Silver. A dwarf protected the monarch, and they were given their own house. Here's the problem, though, is that that's essentially the same clan. That's essentially the same origin story as the. Oh crap! Sorry, guys. I nudged my camera. My camera's been really sensitive lately. Every time I kind of like breathe too close to it, it freaks out. But it's essentially the same origin as the Hornwinders, which is maybe okay. Because maybe that's the whole point, right? Is that they're sort of hypocritical. It's like they view the Hornwinders as being upstarts, but that's exactly where they came from. That, you know, in order to become an underclan, you sort of had to be fractured off from an elder clan. Because in the beginning, they were just the 7 clans, and then the underclans kind of came from there. So, yeah, maybe some hypocrisy there is good, right? That like they have the same origin as anybody else. Yeah, I think with we got a couple more. There's special boots that claw into the ground in front of a movable wall. That's cool. The origin of the saying, digging your heels into the ground. Yeah. Was the first Oath Shield the True Silver? Yeah, I think so. I think that because, like I was saying, Alan, that the first Alan's like right on the money, that there were originally only 7 clans, and all the underclans are basically examples of dwarves breaking off for various reasons. Maybe they were given their own clan by sort of royal mandate, like the Hornwinders. Maybe they intentionally like separated and said, okay, I'm leaving this clan, I'm gonna go found my own clan, me and my family and these 3 other families. You know, like let's say this clan is all about the True Silvers were about mithril, so they don't want to mine mithril anymore. They want to carve, you know, stone. They want to make shields, so they're going to go and they're going to found their own thing. So if you trace it all the way back to ancient history, yeah, in their like sort of legendarium, there were only 7 clans. So I think it makes sense. Maybe it was like a pair, a pair of twins. True Silver twins. So I should look at my document about the kings, because I have one that specifically goes into the history of the Hornwinders. But here's my, or Hornwinders, of the Dwarven monarchs. But here's my idea: a pair of True Silver twins. One becomes monarch. Another swears to protect their sibling. They, for whatever reason, like the idea is, so basically one swears, okay, I'm not going to be the monarch, or they abdicate, or they do whatever, and they say, instead I will protect you. Like you would make a better ruler than I would. We'll have to figure that out exactly, because that's not quite how succession works. But I'm just gonna run down the idea here. And then they go off and they sort of form their own house. They separate away from True Silver. But then it's sort of said that every time there's a new monarch, you know, one member of the Oathshield clan would go and swear to them, right? Or do they serve terms? Like, is it like there's always... I don't know if that quite works. It's cool. I'm trying to, like, chew on it. Body doubles. That's kind of cool. I don't know. Because it seems very deceptive, which is very anti-dwarf. Another swears to protect their sibling. Let me see if I can, like, because again, this could be like a mythic story. It doesn't necessarily have to be literally true, right? So the way the dating works in Undune is that there are 4 like recorded ages, and then anytime before that, which is a substantial chunk of Undune's history, is called the Vanished Time, and it's like basically before like unified written record. So this could be something that would have happened in the Vanished Time, essentially. To protect their sibling, they form their own clan, and every generation it is believed that a bodyguard is born in the Oathshield clan. In Clan Oathshield. Yeah, I think that's okay. I don't know, I feel like it's missing something. Body doubles. I mean, I agree it works with the sacrifice thing, but it doesn't work with their shields and their phalanx, right? Like, to protect their sibling, they form their own clan, and every generation it is believed that a bodyguard is born in clan. Let me look at my Dwarven kings, because there might be somebody that works for. Well, again, Dwarven monarchs. I wish there was a word, like, in English, and we can make one up in Dwarven, but I guess, like, I get disappointed with king and queen. It's one of those his and her situations where I feel like you need a cool word that means either. And like monarch exists, but I don't think it has the same like weight and history of king or queen. I don't think king or queen is better than, like, I don't think king is better than queen or queen is better than king. But if I want to refer to them all, like, there's a mountain range in Coombe that I'm gonna do like these big Mount Rushmore style statues of all the different kings in them, or all the different monarchs, and I want to call it the Range of Kings, you know, because it kind of evokes like Valley of the Kings in Egypt, but that's not accurate. Half of them are women, right, or a little less than half of them are women. So shouldn't it be like Range of like monarchs? I'm debating calling it Range of Crowns, but I feel like Range of Kings sounds cooler. And, like, you can do that. I don't think it's, like, a huge deal, but I just wish there was a nice, like, gender-neutral term for that. Bodyguard is synonymous with attack dog. Has a king ever fallen while under Oathshield watch? Yeah, I don't know if I have any assassinated kings. Maybe not deliberate, not yet, right? Yeah, we have a bunch of kings this could work for. Monarchs, this could work for. Because I'm thinking it's got to be like in the first age. It's got to be like relatively soon, or relatively late, relatively early. Boy, I can't talk. Could be Durzov the Dubious. It could be Ovgora Orc-Friend. Could be the Great. So it could be any one of these. Who it is specifically, it doesn't particularly matter. There's a couple different kings that could work here. Lords, regents. Yeah, maybe. So Thane is the generic term for the ruler of a clan, and that one I feel like is gender neutral in this case. I think technically in like Scotland, a Thane is male, but it's such a, we don't think of that as being a word that we use very much in English, so I don't mind if it's gender neutral in Coombe. But for the actual ruler, like I want king beneath the mountain, queen beneath the mountain. I want those words. So they might just have a word in Dwarven that I can use, that I'll just have to come up with. Anyway, so let's see. Let's move on to a different category here. I think we have some good ideas up here. A bodyguard is synonymous with an attack dog. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool, Alan. Boss. Big boss. Big video game, big bad boss guy. So their politics. Let's talk about this a little bit. Chieftain, I think, is a little too primitive, Again, I'm fine. I don't necessarily need to think of a new word for it. I think we can use king or queen potentially, and boss under the mountain. I like it. Yeah, is the best, most dwarf, big dwarf, I think is what we're gonna do. So politics. We can talk about politics. We can talk about their prominent members. We can talk about their seat. So my question with prominent members, it could be either historical, like who are their great heroes, but I think more relevant to the campaign are like who is currently leading this clan. So they've come back, and I guess this is maybe what we can talk about first, is like why didn't they stay during the Seven Sorrows? Why didn't the Oathshields go with them? So basically, at the end of the Seven Sorrows, the dragons kind of sweep into Coombe, this family of white dragons that start this mated pair and starts wreaking havoc. King Carouge has been hoarding all of the gold, or all the wealth that's flowing in, is sort of the target of this attack. The True Silvers are, because they've been hoarding all of this wealth and not spending it on any projects like they're supposed to be. The dragons attack. There's a great battle. One of the dragons dies, and then Carouge, fearful that the other dragon will return in vengeance, takes all of the wealth and his whole clan, and they retreat into their hidden secret vault that he had constructed, and then sealed himself away. And no one knows where the vault is. And no one knows basically what happened to them. Presumably they all died inside the vault. So my question is, like, why didn't the Oathshields, if they're the loyal clan, why didn't they go with? I mean, it makes sense that maybe the whole clan wouldn't go with them. It makes sense that maybe like his honor guard went with. So there are some Oathshields that got sealed in there. And then the rest of the clan just decided to leave. A lot of the dwarves left in staggered bits. Like it wasn't like they all left at once. It was 1 year is 899 in the Third Age, and it's this year of just cascading disasters. Yeah, that's cool, Alan. Why don't the dwarves go military ranks? The king is nothing but general has an army under him or her. Yeah, general's cool. I dig that. Yeah, reeling in paranoid frenzy, locks his guards out, seeing assassins everywhere. I think that's cool, Alan. I think you're on the money. King Carouge is too paranoid and locks his guards out, seeing assassins everywhere. So they were kind of shamed, right? And I think this is really important. I think that a lot of the clans view the True Silvers as having fallen from grace, right? And they did. I mean, they obviously did. But I think that many of them kind of see this now as an opportunity to start over and to shit on the old regime, and say, oh, the True Silvers were they went mad, they went power corrupt, all that stuff. I think that the Oathshields are still loyal. I think there's some part of the Oathshield ethos that says, no, we have to find them, we have to preserve them. The True Silvers are still the rightful rulers of Coombe. And they never really believed that King Karuj was as mad as he was. We can get into Karuj another time, but kind of the whole conceit is that Cumin had a string of bad monarchs, and then Karuj comes along, and for most of his reign, he was seen as this return to like a glorious golden age of Kum, and then something happens, and he slowly starts to degenerate and go mad, and he starts hoarding wealth, and he starts, there are all these dark rumors about things that are happening inside True Throne, which is the seat of House True Silver, and then it sort of like culminates in, them disappearing underground. So I like the idea that they are still loyal to True Silver even after all of this time. Exactly. Get over it. One of the True Silvers was sane and asked the Oath Shields to protect the people. Ooh. Boom. Jose, that's it. So King Karuj, they're paranoid. Get out of here. And there is somebody, a mysterious person, who I know who it is, but I can't say. Mysterious. There's like there's a perfect candidate for that, Jose. So she tells them, they tell them, instructs the waiting the promised prince. Okay. The king be seen as mad, but the firstborn are sane. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, instructs the Oath Shields to protect the people of Kum in their absence. Oh, that's great. Okay, here we go. So we'll talk about until they should return. So that's it. That's perfect. Okay, here's the thought. So King Karuj, dismisses them, get out of here. And before they leave, this mysterious person, a member of the True Silvers, gives them this instruction and says, you need to protect the kingdom until such time as the True Silvers are ready to return or whatever, right? And so they take this very seriously, and they take that mandate, and then they leave, and then no True Silvers ever come back, right? And so they interpret protect the kingdom as rule the kingdom, right? That they can't let someone else rule the kingdom because that's basically them being usurped. So they make a play, not for the crown, but for a regency, right? They want to hold the throne until such time as the True Silvers should return. They don't want to rule themselves, but they just want to prevent anyone else from ruling because they're waiting for a True Silver to come back. Yes, and that's perfect for secret reasons I can't talk about because there are people in the chat who will be spoiled, but that's perfect. So that's part of their politics. That's great. They want to hold the throne. It's very Gondor. That's totally the vibe. And honestly, I like hitting some of those notes. I like hitting some things that resonate as oh yeah, that reminds me of the Lannisters, or oh yeah, that reminds me of Gondor, or oh yeah, that reminds me of such and such. Because I think that that's important. These touchstones in a political campaign like that, it's nice shorthand rather than having to just say okay, here's the extremely complicated situation. You can say these guys are like the stewards of Gondor as a quick shorthand, and then people instantly can plug in the sort of attitude and the tone that has, right? They want to hold the throne for the return of the True Silvers. They don't, and I think this is true. I really don't think it's if you think about the stewards of Gondor, Denethor is portrayed as basically someone who doesn't ever want Aragorn to return, right? He wants to hold the throne himself, and he's long given up the idea that any king will ever come back, and especially the idea that this ragged ranger is the supposed heir of Isildur. He thinks that's kind of a fairy tale, and he will rule even though he's not actually the king. I don't think that's really the case with the Oath Shields. I think they legitimately want someone else to rule. I think they are legitimately waiting for a True Silver to come back and to claim the throne. And the minute that were to really happen, they would 100% get behind it. You know what I mean? Rather than saying no, we will have power. They honestly just don't want one of these other rapacious clans to move in and take over and enact their will upon the kingdom. That's great. They don't actively want power. They simply want to prevent another clan, an undeserving clan, an undeserving clan, from taking the throne. Yeah, that's so good. They will establish themselves as its regent and then rule in the interim. But they are not power brokers. They're not power hungry and do not have the ambition to rule in truth. Yeah, that's really cool. Because it gives them this extra complication, right? Get over it. Get over it. So let's talk about prominent members real quick, and then their seat. So prominent members. So who is currently in command? What's the political situation like inside the clan? How do they? So the way Dwarven clans are normally organized, and you can obviously break these rules. Different clans can be ruled slightly different ways. There are two ruling bodies in each clan. There's the Thane, who is the sort of nominal, executive leader. Think of them kind of like a president. They generally, a lot of their policy is outward-facing policy. It's like, how do we deal with outside threats? How do we deal with other clans? How do we deal with the Elder Clan or the King or whomever? And then beneath them, but ostensibly at their level, is something called the Peer Council. And the Peer Council is made up of, it's like a legislative body, and it is made up of every member of the clan who has achieved the master rank. And that's something you can achieve through, hard work, and the Peer Council votes in, new people and whatever. So it's usually much, much larger. In a large clan like the True Silvers or something, their Peer Council would have been, hundreds, if not, it would have been hundreds of members, like a huge senate. But in a small clan, like, the Hornwinders, the Oath Shields, maybe it's a dozen people, something like that. It depends. And probably the Peer Council is larger than the number of people who are, like, active members of the Peer Council. So you can be a master in a Dwarven clan and be, like, the best armorer or whatever. But you don't care. You don't go to the meetings. You don't really give a crap. The Peer Council's role is basically to act somewhat as a check on the Thane, but more just to be a legislative body in terms of like the projects and the logistics of what the clan wants to undertake. So if they want to build a bridge, right, the king might, or the Thane might say, I want to build a bridge from here to here, and then it's the Peer Council's job to assess how much that will cost and how long it will take and how many laborers and is that feasible, and given the take we have this year, well, we're low on granite, so it's really hard for us to make a bridge right now. Instead, we only have this much. Maybe we can make a gate. Maybe we can do such and such, right? They do all the logistical stuff. So that's how clans are normally run. Like a lot of the day-to-day ruling stuff falls on the Thane, but anything that has to do with like the clan's resources or the clan's future is dictated and sort of mediated by the Peer Council. I always thought Denethor was a righteous man that was stupid enough to look into the Palantir and get his mind twisted to nothing. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you could definitely blame a lot of Denethor's madness on the Palantir. I think that's a good way to think of it. I was speaking more about like the man that you meet in the books at like sort of post-madness, but that's a great read on the character for sure. I mean, I could go into Denethor versus Theoden a lot, but we don't have time for that. Alan says, how many dwarves can sit around a shield for a table meeting? Have that be the cap on the unit size, or the governing body size could be cool. Yeah, that's interesting. Are you saying specifically just for the Oath Shields or in general? Because I did like the idea, yes, any master can sit in on a Peer Council meeting. So if you are a master in the Peer Council, you technically have a seat, right? But just in the smaller clans, I mean, I think in clans of both sizes, it's like a vanishingly small percentage. Cool, yeah, I like that, Alan. It's a vanishingly small percentage of the masters who care, who go to those meetings, right? It's almost like PTA or like, those scenes in Parks and Rec where they like go and they have the press conferences, like the town hall meetings, where it's like the people that go to those are very, very concerned with like how the small town is run. That's how I view the Peer Council. It's like if these people have nothing better to do than to go and talk on these councils. Sometimes if there's like a really big issue, yeah, then you'll get a lot of extra people. But it's totally a town hall meeting situation where you get a lot of weirdos who have strong opinions about how much granite we're using in the columns. You know what I'm saying? That kind of a thing. So, okay, that's cool. This seat, it's kind of a politics thing. Peer Council is limited to how many dwarves can sit around a shield for a meeting. So like 6? If you don't want to write a master dwarf that doesn't deal with the peer council and looks like the humblest journeyman, if you don't write a master dwarf that doesn't deal with peer council and looks like a humblest journeyman, but when he speaks, everyone listens. Yeah, no, for sure. You absolutely have that scene where it's like this guy is the most respected craftsman, and they never go to peer council meetings, but then the one time when they show up and everybody turns, it's like Werner Herzog's one scene in that episode of Rick and Morty, right, where Jerry's penis will save Shrimply Pibbles or whatever, and they cut, and everyone's like, oh, the humans will never give up their penises, they love them, and they cut to Werner Herzog, who's like, I've been to Earth and I have seen a man hold a water bottle in front of his crotch and say, and they all look and like nod sagely, like, yes, of course, the learned master. Yeah, 100%. I think each peer council is one of those guys. They do the dwarf that hauls around a huge shield so he can appoint more of his friends to his council. So wait, are you saying that like, so however many you can get around your shield, or is there like a universal shield that they all sit around? Because I could see it being like a tower shield, so it's relatively big, and you could maybe seat like So the table that I'm at right now is maybe about like this big. Can you see me? It's maybe about this big, and you could probably comfortably seat about 6 people around it. And this would be like a huge shield, right? But I think that's the fun. Yeah, I think like 6 makes sense. But who's in charge? Like, what's the Thane like? Who's the current ruler? And the peer council, how do they get along? Do we think that they are we want them to exemplify some of the themes and some of the philosophy of the Oath Shields. If they are a rival to Clan Hornwinder, it'd be cool if they were sort of like a foil to Harada. Harada is a very atypical dwarf in a lot of ways. She grew up among humans as sort of a militia fighter, so she's got kind of a boisterous, like she doesn't follow a lot of the traditions. She doesn't really care a lot about the like old ways of doing things. She's very aggressive, especially if they are all about defense. It makes sense, you would want somebody who is sort of conservative and wants to preserve. I'm trying to think of the tone, or like what kind of a character are we talking about here? Yeah, runs first, thinks later is a great way to describe Harada. Any size, make a particular metal ingot size. Mastership of forming, it gives it size. Give them loopholes to fight. I'm confused. Make the shield be any size, but made with a particular metal ingot size. Mastership of forming. Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's like, okay, if the shield is made out of an ingot of this weight, you could technically make a shield that's like really, thin to make it bigger. I don't know. I mean, I think the idea of saying that, you can only get 6 people on the peer council is cool. I don't think we have to get too deep into exactly how they make that kind of a shield for it. Because it's a ceremonial shield. It's not a shield they would pick up and use. It's a shield that they would sit around like a table. What kind of character are we talking about here? I mean, we can come back if this isn't particularly interesting. We can also talk about their seat, and think of some cool ideas about it. The only thing I had was like their Thane's Hall or whatever the council hall is lined with shields. What are one thing I'm trying to do with like Coom and its design is really emphasize the like crazy over the top nature of A, the resources that they had, but B, like their ambition, like the kinds of things that they would build. So for example, Horn Hollow is the name of the Hornwinder seat, and it is basically, it's a mountain, and they've hollowed out the top third of the mountain from the peak to about a third of the way down the slope, and there's a horn affixed to the top, and when you blow that horn, it magically resonates inside the hollow mountain, so it makes this huge, massive sound that can be heard all the way clear across the kingdom. And not everyone has to have something so grandiose, but I feel like that's the level we're talking about. We're talking about these like big, insane, impossible structures, right, that these dwarves have made. If they had infinite resources and they had infinite time to make them, what crazy over the top, because these are like potentially all dungeons the characters could go and explore, these ruined dwarven strongholds. So, what are we talking about here? What would they do to demonstrate their like power and mastery? I don't think they're ceremonial. I think they could pick them right up off the wall, right? Like everyone maybe hangs their shield up in this hall, so it's like shields lining the way, right? But when it's time for war, they go and they grab them. Um, super hard traditional to just resist any and all change. I think that's cool. A super hard tradition list that resists all change. I mean, what if they're like a true silver fanboy? Oh, let's roll actually. Male or female? I got 2, so female. I think that's kind of cool. If it's 2 women, right? Harada and their works remind me of the Maginot line. I'm not familiar, Alan. Educate me. Like some massive fortification. Yeah, I think that makes sense. They're all about defense. A true silver fangirl. Yeah, like so. One of the antagonist groups in the campaign is a clan called the Deep Veins. They're an elder clan, and they have kind of like a fascistic bend. Like they want. They're also very traditionalist. They want to return things the way they were, but they viewed the True Silvers as being decadent and corrupt. So I think like they want to remake Coom in like a stricter, more conservative, almost fascistic kind of bend. I don't think that that's the same here. I think there's similarities. I think the Oathshield just literally wanted to go back to exactly the way it was before the Sorrows, right? Like they just want True Silvers back in power. So they want like stasis. They want, like a snapshot of this is what it used to be. So let's have exactly that. They don't want to change anything. They want to improve anything. They wanted exactly what it was. Yeah, they just keeps proclaiming the heir will be back any day. Oh, I love the denial. Yeah. Deep in denial about the True Silvers coming back any day now. Yeah. Massive fortification. Oh, that's cool. So, like, I wonder if it's thinking about the seat. I wonder if it's like a Harrenhal thing where they built this huge place sort of as like They built this huge place to like show off their might or whatever, but now they don't have enough dwarves to operate it. Like when they came back, not enough, like either not enough Oath Shields came back with them or there aren't enough Oath Shields left in the clan. So it's like this big ostentatious fortress that's like, got all these traps and things and all these defenses, but they don't have enough dwarves to really man it properly. I think that's kind of cool. Where it's sort of like this empty promise, this empty hope that this thing that they want, will never come true. I think that's cool. Fortress made of transparent material, double walls, an ever-falling cascade falling between them. Yeah, and then that's a thing, right, is that like Order of the Latter-day Shields. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah. What if they have like there's like a prophecy or there was some like she said something to them like we will return when blank blank blank, and now they just keep saying like maybe there's a day they're waiting for, like well when the stars are in this position or something like that. There's a day they in particular have been waiting for, and then we see it in the campaign like it comes and goes, right? That's cool. Awaiting some arcane, and like it's them reading too deeply into what the person said, right? Like maybe they didn't even intend that, they just kind of meant it in like it may take hundreds of years, but it's sort of a like when the sun sets in the east kind of a thing, right? Awaiting some arcane what is the word I'm looking for? Some arcane, not literally arcane, but like obscure preconditions or conditions to herald their return in the Church of the Latter-day Dwarves. I love that. Yeah, it's almost Latter-day Shields. It's funnier. Latter-day Shields. Yeah, okay. Deeply in denial. A hardcore traditionalist. I need like a little bit of the humanizing factor, right? Like this sort of sad, pathetic. That's cool. Okay, so we talk about the seat. Massive fortification intended to impress the True Silvers with its might. ostensibly one of the best, most defendable or defensible structures in the kingdom, but it never, like, now it's hilariously undermanned. It would take 1,000 dwarves to properly man the place, but they have maybe 100. Right? Like they're yeah, You're exactly right, Brooke. He wants to slap them back into reality. The Hall of Hallowed Shields. But that is very funny. I think that's cool. Yeah, and I think it has this like big, echoey, like, empty kind of a vibe. I think that's cool. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty good for the Oath Shields. We haven't quite cracked their like origin yet exactly, but I can get there. That's cool. How do you guys feel? Is there anything else we should hit with them, or do we want to move on to another clan? What are y'all thinking? We could get a couple more ideas for the seat, but I think with the core nugget there, I feel like it's easier to develop that. Let me get a little drink of water, and we'll see. Yeah, and then that would be kind of what's cool, Jose. Jose says they just man it with ropes and pulleys. Would be to see, like, how do they make up for the fact that they don't have enough people, right? All right, see you later, Brooke. Thanks for hanging out. I say we move on. I think we got the Oath Shields pretty well figured out. It's cool because it adds another power dynamic. Like I had always seen them as being like rivals to House Hornwinder, but they didn't really have like a goal. Oh. I'm picturing a range of hills in front of the range you mentioned earlier. Each carve looks like shields. Oh, that's great, Reho. Actually, one of the locations, I might have to move in on my sort of like rough map, but one of the locations that I have listed, I had an idea for these mountains. Maybe there's a way to do that, to like combine the two. Let me look this up. I want to make sure I get it right. Yeah, I had a thought for like, just like trying to think of cool ideas for mountains, of having a set of three, like a small range called the Three Shields, right? And then there's a small mountain that's called the Buckler, and then a really tall mountain called the Tower, and then there's one that has these like cracks on the side, and like water kind of runs down it during the spring when the snow melts, and then it freezes and it turns it into ice. It's like sheathed in ice, and when the sun hits it, they call it the Mirror. So you have the Buckler and the Tower Shield and the Mirror Shield. Maybe there's a way to position that like on the map, so that way those three are like covering part of the kings or whatever. Like the implication, right, is that that's there. That's cool. Their seat is at the foot of the first true silver they served. We might be able to do that. Yeah. Constructed in the Three Shields. So the range of kings would have been made after the fact. So maybe they like because it was done by one of the early kings, but maybe it's a thing where they had like a smaller, less grandiose home, and then when they started to make the range of kings, they kind of like repositioned, be like, oh, we should go here or whatever to make that happen. Correcting the Three Shields, their seat is at the foot of the first monarch they served. Oh, it needs a name. I have a thing under my locations, a huge thing I can look at. But, I always try to come up with like a Thronesian, like, Winterfell or Casterly Rock, or that kind of a like nice, strong, iconic name for these different seats, rather than doing them in Dwarven, because I feel like that would get obnoxious to try to remember all these like made up words. But I have a huge list of like root things like arch, bane, barrow, bend, bitter, black, bottom, bowl, all that kind of stuff, right? So if you guys have any move the capital, I did that in a campaign setting actually. My 4th edition campaign had a kingdom where after the main capital fell due to like a magical disaster. Oh, Foothold is cool actually, Alan. because of the like digging your feet in foothold, and it's in the foothills. It might have to be foothold. That's pretty neat because hold is the term, right? It's the Dwarven foothold. It's a little like quippy for like the tone of the clan, but that's so good. I really like it. But I did have a campaign setting where there was a capital that kept jumping because the main capital got destroyed due to a magical catastrophe or whatever, and there were 5 sort of other major cities, and they could never really agree on which city should be the capital, and so the capital changed year after year, and it just bopped around. And the at one point the king, the monarch would move between them, or the monarch would move with, so the royal court would go to one of 5 different castles, and then eventually they got a flying castle that just flew between the 5 cities because it was faster and took less time. Something Anvil. Yeah, Anvil's definitely on my list. Oh, it's not. Let me put Anvil on there. I love Foothold. It might have to be Foothold. That's great. Okay, I say we move on. I think we got the Oath Shields. Unless there's any other ideas you guys have. That's awesome. The Founding Anvil. The Hardy Hole. Alan's always good for one good suggestion and then one stupid suggestion. That's how he works. He'll try one, and then I'll be like, I don't like that, and then he'll come up with a better one, or he'll do the opposite where he'll do a really good one, and I'm like, oh, that's great, and then he'll suggest something stupid, which is part of an anvil. The Hardy Hole is part of an anvil? The Hardy Hole? Okay, hold on. This needs to be investigated. Oh no, you're right. Oh, now I'm an idiot. The Hardy Hole. I think Hardy Hole could be the name of a clan. I just did look it up. Not a clan, of a hold. Look at that. I've got egg on my face. You gotta admit that Hardy Hole sounds gross, right? I don't know. Maybe that's just where my mind went, but Hardy Hole. I will put it down on my list of potential names. I don't think these guys aren't such great smiths, so I don't know if they would do it, the Oath Shields, but I think that somebody definitely could. Hardy Hole. Yuck. Okay. Names. Let me just add it here. So let's talk about the next clan. Hardy Hole. Thanks everybody for coming out. It's so awesome to have such a large group chat with me. Okay, so let's talk about Clan Brightshard. So Clan Brightshard is pretty well developed so far. It doesn't have as much to fill in, but we can talk about some of the details. Let me give you a brief rundown. Clan Brightshard is one of the Elder clans. Their specialty is a substance called Illuminite, which is basically a solar-powered crystal. It's a crystal that absorbs sun during the day, and then it glows in the dark, and so it's often used for mining, especially. It's not used by dwarves as much. It can be, but it's often sold or traded away to people without dark vision. So the sort of main arc of Clan Brightshard is that, long ago in sort of ancient times, they were forced to flee their hold due to some sort of a now forgotten or mysterious catastrophe. And the legend goes that by the time they were able to return, they had forgotten the password or where the entrance was. So they were basically had exiled themselves from their own clan. How literally true that story is kind of up for debate. It happened in the vanished time, so it's not really 100% clear. But the idea is that it's often used as a warning against forgetting forgetting the password to your own hall, right? It's that famous Gandalf quote, dwarf doors are invisible when shut, even their own masters cannot find them if their secret is forgotten. I wanted a clan that kind of exemplified that idea, and that's Clan Brightshard. So the thought is that they end up basically shacking up with humans. So humans have come into, or they live by themselves for a time or whatever. The exact timeline I haven't hammered out. But they end up partnering with these human merchants that have moved into the area. Now humans aren't sort of native to Coombe, but one of the ancient Dwarven kings sort of invites them in. They've always kind of been there a little bit, small fishing villages and stuff like that, but they eventually create sort of a diplomatic relationship with these human merchants that set up shop. Think Lake Town, right, or Dale. This is a community that survives on essentially fencing Dwarven goods. the dwarves will come down from the mountains with their silver or their ruby or whatever it is they're trying to sell, and the humans are the middlemen. The humans will sell them cloth, and they'll sell them fish, and they'll sell them wood, and all these things that the dwarves don't have access to. So I had seen it as like a trading community built up on one of these fjords that cuts into Coombe. And so the notion was that Clan Brightshard then like wandered out and ended up partnering with these humans. And they became basically a mercantile clan. Now, a little bit of background on dwarves and their economy. Dwarves inside their own holds don't sell things. They basically all have like a communal fund, like a stockpile. And then they send some portion of that stockpile out to be traded with humans or the outside world to get the other things that they need. So to them, to dwarves, wealth that is acquired through trade is seen as less honorable, sort of lower wealth, new money essentially, compared to sort of old money, which is wealth that is acquired from the earth. Like mining your own gold is seen as much better and preferable to trading for gold. So there are dwarven merchants inside dwarven clans, but they're kind of seen as being a little bit untrustworthy, a little bit unscrupulous. And so the idea of a clan whose primary function, that they've lost the ability to mine, they've lost the ability to get their own wealth through mining, and so now they make all their money through wealth. They're very, very wealthy. They're probably the wealthiest clan in Coombe. Because they were able to make these partnerships with these humans, right? These human merchants. The rock boss. Ooh, I like that. Make them ostentatious. The brighter they wear, build, act, the more stereotypical bright shards they are. That's cool. Most watched by the other clans is fool's gold. That's neat. I like that under philosophy. All about displaying their wealth. Literal brightness is important. So Illuminite then, because it was only mined in their ancient seat, is now basically not even extinct, but extremely rare. No one can get it anymore because no one can find the entrance to this place. So of course one of the hooks in the campaign is finding the entrance to Clan Brightshard's ancient seat. But I imagine then, as you're talking, Jose, that like the Illuminite would be a huge sign of prestige among these dwarves, right? If they have it, or they can sell it, or they can do whatever, right? Like any fragments of Illuminite that are still around are heinously valuable. Illuminite, I'm going to put that under specialty. Now extremely rare. Illuminite, now extremely rare. Unable to be mined, cherished as heirlooms, right? Like whatever amount of it they were able to get out or was still there, they collected up, you know. But they're seen as degenerates by the market. That's exactly right, Alan. Yep. Some of them shave. Yeah. Ooh, that's cool. Well, the mines, I think, are all interconnected to the whole, David. They don't really allow... Doesn't that look like Tron denizens? That's a great question. I don't know why you want that. I don't want that. Oh, because you want the brightness. Yeah, I see. That's kind of cool, though, actually. They have, like, lines of it on their clothing and stuff like that. There's, like little bits of, like, Illuminite, like, woven in, like, tiny shards of it. Did their minds dry up, or did they choose digging wasn't for them? I think it's a little bit of both. They lost access to the mines, and now no one knows how to get into them because they were basically sealed, right? But I also think that they have kind of gotten over it a little bit, right? They have been out of the mines long enough that mining to them now is sort of gauche, right? Or like new tracksuits. No, they're just like there's like New Jersey mobsters. You know, they're just wearing the tracksuits all the time. I love the shaving though. That's cool. Do they shave? But they are definitely seen as being degenerates by the hardcore traditionalists. Yeah, Brightshard is seen as being utter sellouts at like in the best of times, and sort of like perverts in the worst of times. So a couple things about their philosophy. They're the most mercantile clan. They're not particularly interested with legacy or great works, but they care only for the glint of gold. Seated atop a vast merchant empire, they're not particularly pleased with the idea of a royal family returning to Coombe, whom they would view as an unnecessary tax burden. So again, the way it works is that the dwarves mine the stuff, they have a stockpile, some chunk of that stockpile goes to their liege, and then they divvy the rest of it up however the clan requires. Everyone gets a little bit of an allowance or whatever. It's like communism. And so they the notion of the right shards would then see like, hey, here's a situation where we can get our wealth, we can do the trading that we've always done, but we don't have to pay taxes to a king because there is no king, right? So I don't want to go too deep into spoilers, but I like the idea that the overriding philosophy of the Clan Brightshard is that they don't want a king. They want no one to be king, and that they profit the most when is the succession crisis, right? When everyone's struggling to who gets to be the king. Again, they're like pure corporation, right? The less government oversight, the better. They have to have a Jabba, like human harem girls prancing around. I could see that. Don't lose the mind, don't lose the technique to properly extract the Illuminite. Yeah, like, because I think losing the technique is tough for me, because I feel like maybe how would they not just over hundreds of years eventually figure it out, right? I think they lost the Illuminite. I don't think that means they lost access to all of their other minds. So one of the plot threads I wanted to play with in the present is that they still have underclans. There are still other clans that do other things and mine other things, but they still technically have to pay the Bright Shards, right? And so one of the conflicts I wanted to play with was the idea that now that there's no king, there's no central hierarchy, right? The Bright Shards are still should still be collecting taxes from their underclans, but the underclans don't really feel like they have to obey anymore. There's no one to come and punish them if they don't do this. So there's some strife there, right? They're kind of dragging their feet on paying the Bright Shards back because they kind of see the Bright Shards as having betrayed, they're sort of race traders in a certain way. Let them return to Coombe looking for the forgotten technique, make them mad at it being so hidden they can't find it. I mean, I think it's a combination of those things, right? They are coming back looking to try to get their way back in. I don't know if I wonder if it's both. Like, I like the notion that they have forgotten where their home is, but even if they were to get back in, they wouldn't know how to extract the Illuminite, because I think somebody would know how, right? Illuminite, if it was like explosive or something, I could see that being a problem for them. Maybe that's cool if it's explosive, but let's look at their history, recent. They have returned to mine, to locate their ancestral home and recover the means to mine the precious Illuminite. I think that's cool. Yeah, I don't mind them having forgotten it, but I think it needs to be a combo. I like the idea of there being a plot involving the players locating where their ancient home is. And the notion that they would have spent a lot of time initially trying to research it back in the day, or the playing Brightshard did, and they've slowly lost interest in doing that. So they are a philosophy. There's a human fetishism at work here. Not everybody, not all of them, but a few prominent members essentially view themselves as human. I think they employ humans to do stuff. They employ humans as messengers and go-betweens that they work with humans in a way that is sort of seen as being like profane to other dwarves. Like, why would you tell humans about this stuff? Being badly extracted doesn't blow right. Also, I'm just saying this out loud. Imagining dwarves going mad looking for their own fortress. Yeah, I mean, I think that's cool. I like that. Yeah, I think they could definitely have lost some of that. That could be like a complication. Like, maybe they find the place and they overcome whatever the disaster was, and then they realize we don't even know how to extract this anymore, right? Like, we've lost it. We've lost the knowledge. I think that's a cool double hit rather than like that being the core premise. That's great. High heels. That's really funny. Yeah, high heels to make them taller. I think that's funny. More on human eye level. And big hats. Just very tall hats with like a wig on top and then eyeballs in it. There, look, I'm a human just like you. But yeah, it's all about trying to make themselves look a little bit more human. Yeah, so Orlando, getting your minds back, not being able to profit from it. Yeah, I think that's a better 1-2 punch. Like papal hats. That's very funny. So their current seat then is located inside the human trading town, which does not have a name yet. What does it look like? What's their current seat? What's their ancient seat? I know some things about their ancient seat. It's lit by one massive illuminite crystal, like at the roof that bleeds down. It absorbs light all day, and then it's like having a skylight, but instead of glass, it's illuminite, right? So it absorbs light all day, and then at night it shines it down. Absorbs light all day, and then shines down. Ooh, a bank/casino is cool. They look like unshaven skin. I mean, I think it's kind of cool that they just, some of them just shave, and it's just like this horrible profanation. Yeah. A bank/casino. I love that, Alan. Yeah. I think it's both, right? I think it has kind of an Iron Bank of Bravos thing to it. Yeah. So one thing I think that they are doing, the Firefly seed. One thing I think that they're doing is they are these human miners. So there's this company, the Golden Coast Trading Company is a East India Trading Company style corporation, largely human run, but there's members of all races that work for it. That I wanted to have there be a sub-theme in the campaign that's kind of like a gold rush feel, right? That like, yes, there's some Hobbit stuff in here, and yes, it's ancient medieval history, but I also like the idea that there is this sense of kind of a Yukon Trail gold rush sort of aesthetic. So you get these humans are rushing into Coombe in an attempt to profit off of these dwarves that are coming back, and the dwarves are taking things a little bit too slowly. The humans are able to like move in and kind of claim jump on a lot of these old dwarven settlements. And I think the Bright Shards are working with the humans. I think the Bright Shards are selling stakes in these. They might know of a mine over here or a mine over there. It wouldn't be illuminite, but it might be silver, or it might be gold, or it might be emerald, or whatever, right? And they're kind of like, and again, the other dwarves would see that as being like, you're letting humans work these old dwarven mines. It's inconceivable to them. It's gonna have a trading floor. That's fun. A trading floor. Think the stock market. I think that's cool. Or fake beards when in front of other dwarves, but look wrong. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Maybe they wear fake beards when dealing with other dwarves. And like, when you first meet some of them in the campaign, like you don't quite notice, and you're kind of looking at them like, there's something weird with his beard, and then you realize that he's shaved it. I wonder if you could also have the opposite thing, that when they deal with humans, you might get the opposite effect, that like they overplay their dwarfness, right? And they're like, look at how dwarvy we are. We're so dwarven, man. I love hammers and beer, right? Like that they would it would be performative around other humans to show like, wow, these are real, authentic dwarves, but it's, kind of hammy. It's like going to medieval times or something like that. I think it's kind of funny. Yeah, they're braided and stuff. They're very fake. Yeah. I think that's kind of cool. Ostentatiously fake. And it's almost like you're mocking them. Ostentatiously fake. Like Louis the 16th. Is it 16th? Right? Yeah, boom, got it. Louis the 16th style beards. Like it's yeah, there's something kind of cool about that, because it feels like they're saying like, look at this, look at who you are, and what you think is important are these beards, and so they wear these fake beards because they sort of need to or whatever. But it's almost more of a shocking statement. What are their prominent members? So like my instinct is to say that they have like a board, right? That they're more like a corporation. But I think that's how Golden Coast is going to work. And there's another dwarven house that's like all peer council and no a thane. So I don't necessarily want to do that. I like the idea of it being a little bit more like a merchant oligarch situation, almost like a Trumpian. It's like a wealthy family or something like that. That's true, Alan. You make a good point. Are any of these guys cool? Do they have any merits at all? I understand. Are you saying that I'm like painting these like narcissistic capitalists as being bad? I don't get it. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like I'm trying to think what they're like. I think that they have some merit in the sense that they are not seeking power, right? They're not seeking to like claim the throne. So they are unthreatening to the players in that way. And I think that they're relatively progressive in their views. Right, I don't think that they are like shackled to a lot of these old traditional ideals. I think that the Bright Shards are could be a potential ally for the party, right? In that they might help them get further along their quest, but you will eventually kind of run up against, the fact that they don't want anyone to rise too high. In terms of like redeeming qualities, it's tough because like I agree they don't seem very humanized, ha ha ha, right? But like they don't seem in the way that you kind of feel for the Oath Shields. You feel like a pity that they're waiting for this thing that will never happen. I don't see that here, and I wonder how we inject that stuff. Probably go into the world and then they venture a bunch. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I also think that they're the most accepting of other like races and cultures, right? Like they trade, so they're all about meeting. I think they're the most polite. I think that they're the most like ostensibly friendly because they want to establish trade connections. They're not isolationist like the other dwarves, right? I think that's one of the big failings of some of these other clans. These are the hollow gilded hammers in front of humans. Yeah, I think that they are friendly, welcoming, accepting. They are not the strict xenophobic isolationists that many traditional dwarven clans are, right? Like dwarves will trade or acknowledge, they won't like go out and make war on other people, but they don't want anyone in their clan, they don't want to deal with anyone, right? Like they're very, closing the doors on the problems of the world. Like this is a bit of a tangent, but like when Yogg is arising in the Fourth Age, the dwarven strategy is just to like close your door and wait for Yogg to fail at coming out and hope that if it does, you can just endure inside your stronghold, right? Which is not a very proactive step. Like so I think one of the redeeming qualities of the Bright Shards is that they're forward thinking, right? It's kind of like Apple or Facebook or something. Like they're largely insidious, but you could say that some of their innovations have helped broaden the community or broaden like the dwarven understanding of the world, right? Have helped make connections that the dwarves wouldn't otherwise have. And I think they're also like a necessary evil. I think it's very difficult for the dwarves can't just live in a cave because you need wood and you need, wool and cloth and things they can't make. And so this is like a necessary evil to them, this trade. But these guys are just like trade gone amok, right? Yeah, their big shame is they don't make anything other than money. But like that's so funny because in our like in our culture, like money is the only thing you need to make that matters, right? It doesn't matter if you can make money without making anything in American culture, then like that's look at you, you're a great entrepreneur. Like Facebook is nothing. It's just like this ethereal, it's a website. It has some servers and that's it, right? They don't like make anything tangible. And we view that as being somehow better. Yeah, I love that. Friendly, welcoming, accepting, like they should seem maybe a little weird, And I think that like the ones you meet initially probably aren't like the weird human perverts, but they should seem like friendly potential allies. And the more you get to know them, the more sort of heartless and soulless they kind of reveal themselves to be. I think you can even feel bad. Like their main objective is just like to get back into their home, right? They've forgotten it. They've been exile, self-imposed exile, and now they're out there and all they want is to return. And so I think that I like that unpeeling, that you see them as being potential allies or sympathetic characters, and the deeper you get into it, and you see the other dwarven clans like shit on them, right, all the time, and you don't really understand why. Like they're friendly and they're nice and they facilitate trade. And the more you learn about them, though, the more you start to realize like, oh, this onion is rotten, in the core. I think that's cool. That's a great question, Alan. I think that's really important and thought-provoking, is to not just like, soft hands. Is to not just like vilify one group and be like, they're bad, man. Like how do they see themselves, right? Let's talk about their prominent members. So as I was saying, they also have these other clans. One thing I was going to play with their three underclans that have come back is that, as I said, they don't really want to pay taxes. So I have like three different versions. There's one who, is paying a little bit, but not enough. And there's one that is like constantly making excuses. And there's one that's just like flat out refusing. So what are the early missions you can do to potentially like get the favor of these clans? And I should make this point too, that one of the themes early on in the game, or throughout the game, is that you have a couple different claimants to the throne. The party sort of clan, the Hornwinders, are one of them. But Clan Deepvein is making a claim. Clan Ironspring is making a claim. And then there are a couple of these elder clans that are essentially neutral. And they could potentially swear themselves in allegiance with any of the other clans if their sort of conditions are met. And so I think one of the conditions of the Bright Shards is that you can sort of get their underclans to toe the line, right? If you guys can help us get them to pay their taxes properly, then we will support you as monarch, essentially. Can we make them use sandpaper to harden their hands out of shame? That's pretty extreme. Maybe one of them does. I don't think that these are like all universal behaviors for all of them. So let's talk about prominent members and sort of how they rule themselves. I definitely like the idea of a Jabba-esque human fetishist. So I think that I think that there's like a lot of these ideas we've had about like the high heels and the hats and the rough hands and stuff. Some merchant bigwig. Oh my god, why can I not type? Some merchant bigwig that essentially pretends to be a human. They wear high heels. They have shaven their beard. You'd never know, right? Like, at a quick glance, you'd assume they're human. And this is maybe like a thing that like the younger generations of dwarves are more and more human, and the older generations of Bright Shards are more dwarven. Record keepers, public relations. Let's go with Ferengi. Rules of acquisition have always mocked until that scene when they're actually used to simplify war and stop it. Yeah, that's true. Record keepers is cool. Yeah, I like a record keeping clan. Record keeping. I also think that they they have one clan that I think like kind of similar to, maybe we'll call these guys the record keepers. Record keeping clan. So they have 3 underclans that like don't listen and are difficult to deal with. But I think one of the clans, kind of Oath Shield style, they're peacemakers. Yeah, I had seen one of the primary. Yeah, I like that. I'm trying to square that with like how I had seen them in the campaign, is basically like constantly playing the different sides against each other, right? Because they don't want anyone to be king. But I like the idea that their ultimate goal is like peace. They don't want anyone else to be destroyed. This is one thing I've never understood, actually. I have heard both that war is good for business and war is bad for business. I do not know, like both axioms like exist, and they just kind of like float around, and whenever one of them is more applicable, you say it's like, oh, war is great for business, oh, war is bad for business, and it's like, I guess maybe it just is contextual, but I never know like which one is like widely believed to be true. Yeah, they're definitely the diplomat clan, and sure, it depends on your business. Is war bad for them? That's a great question, right? Is war bad for them trading? It seems like it is. Kings are bad for them. We know that. Like a central government of the dwarves are bad for them because they would be like required to pay taxes, essentially. So as long as they don't have to pay taxes, they're happy. And so that's why I had seen them as like balancing the different other clans against each other and like almost kind of fomenting war. I don't think they're war profiteers. I don't think they're selling weapons to other sides, right? Because they don't really make weapons. It's all about offer and demand. So I think they don't want anyone to win, I think is what they want, right? They don't want a victor, whether or not that means they advocate for peace or not. I do like the idea that they're diplomats. Do they fight? I think they fight if they're attacked, but I think they probably hire mercenaries, I think they probably have like human mercenaries, because I think that they're relatively few in number comparatively. I think they've mostly assimilated. Is the war on the up high, or would it be time to buy? It seems like a riddle I do not understand. Sorry, David asked, did these dwarves invent the patent system? I guess they could. I like the idea of them like selling dwarven technique to humans, right? Let me go do this real quick. So one of the underclans. You guys talk about the war thing because I think that's fascinating. I like the idea of them being diplomats. Right. Yeah, they're the status quo for-profit diplomats. I like the idea of them being diplomats. I think them trying to like keep peace between the different factions is good. But like the role, and they can even like be really upfront about like the last thing we want is war, right? Like war amongst dwarves hurts everybody. And that's a common theme in their mythology too, is that they, in the Vanished time, they had this great war between these different clans that were at each other's throats. But it never quite worked out. There was a big mythological thing as to why they don't fight. So there's kind of a dwarven mentality that fighting amongst clans is bad. They do it sometimes, but they much rather solve their disputes another way. Yeah, interesting. So I think it makes sense that they would kind of be the poster children for keeping things level. And the idea that they like, the last thing we want is for a war to break out. We just want there to be peace. We'll have these talks. Like they'll host talks and they'll send diplomats and they'll do all these things. But it's kind of slowly revealed throughout the course of your interactions with them that like they don't actually want anyone to pull out ahead. Like the fact they're using their role as diplomats to keep everybody kind of constantly contesting with each other. Not at war, but no one is emerging victorious. They're not helping them to actually solve. Maybe they're like certain missives are getting lost, or maybe like they're mistranslating stuff or whatever. Maybe they like clocks, all the gears interdependent. Oh, that's cool. Have guerrilla armies to always level every side of dispute on the same Bellic status. Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're like about, like, you know, if one clan is starting to like get more power, like they're all about like sabotage. Like, oh no, all of a sudden, you know, your trade routes got cut off, or there was like mining accidents, and like they almost have like a mafia feel to me, where like they don't want anybody to rise too high. I think Alan's idea of like a clock is interesting. All the gears are interdependent, right? That like the dwarves work best when they all do their own thing and no one is telling them what to do, and there's no dictates from on high or that makes them like divert a bunch of their resources to do anything else. Oh, they're totally true neutral. Yeah, they're the definition of true neutral. Yeah, that's great. One of the underclans stayed loyal to the libertarians. Yeah, I think so. I think that's exactly what they are, right? They don't want any government oversight. They don't want government to do anything for them. They want to do it themselves. Stayed loyal to the Bright Shards and came with them into exile. They are record keepers and archivists and accountants and archivists. You know, if the other three clans kind of sneer at their elder clan, you got to have one that like we're right on the side. You know, where we stayed with them the whole time. I think that's cool. It's almost 8 o'clock. I would love to get into Mystery Clan. How are you guys doing? Because I'd like to get at least like some concepts here. I think I'm out of here. 8:30 is the latest I can be in the room. I might want to head home a little sooner than that. But I would love to just try to bang out some ideas for this last one, because like these had a lot in them already. But it'd be cool to just like shoot the shit about this third clan. So what do you guys think? Do you think we should stick around and do one more, or are you people thinking about taking off? Because I could kind of go either way at this point. I just wanted to get to that Mystery Clan. That was the one I was like the most excited about. It's weird that I put it last. Yeah, I'm into a new clan as well. What do you think, Jose? I think Jose is still here. I think David is still around. Rejo, if you're still here, please jump in. Cool, Rejo's here. Awesome. Yeah, let's do it. Perfect. All right, everybody. So what do we think? I mean, I wanted to keep a bunch of these clans totally open. I'm assuming this is an underclan. So the elder clans I kind of all have sketched out. This is presumably an underclan. And one thing we can talk about then is like their relationship to, you know, their elder clan, depending on who it is. But I have no ideas for this. I mean, I have a list of potential clan ideas we could dig into, but I kind of want to hear what you guys think. What kinds of clans should there be? Again, keep in mind that I have done a lot of them. So if I say, oh, we actually already have a clan like that, you know, no worries. Please don't take that personally. I've done a lot of work on these already, but there's still a lot more work to be done. Mine Safety Clan. I did this like Dwarven OSHA. I'll just write on all the ideas. Mine safety ideas. Mine safety. Oh no, no worries, Reha. You hang out. A priesthood, engineers. A priesthood's cool. What kind of engineers? Because I feel like there's a lot of dwarven engineering, you know, that happens. But I'm not sure. Yeah, labor union, shadow clan, one that feels attuned to the underground darkness. So that's kind of cool. Labor union, shadow clan, attuned to underground darkness. Architects is cool. Kind of plays into engineers. Yeah. So the ones that are jumping out to me, I think the priesthood is interesting. I think the like architect / engineer is interesting. You can almost kind of group them together. So it's sort of like labor union / mine safety. Berserkers, yeah. Was food obtained? That's a good question. Like a cooking clan. Engineer / architects. Priesthood, cooks. Yeah, that's kind of neat. Shadow clan. I like the idea of like a darkness clan. Like not darkness in the sense of like evil, but darkness in the sense of like we're underground. And then food / cooking. I kind of like that one. So I don't think they have like a universal sort of like cuisine. This was one of the categories that came up during our dwarven culture conversation, and we never actually like got to it. So I don't know what dwarven cuisine is like in like aggregate. I know about a couple of small things. They the deepest of dwarves. Oh yeah, that is a clan. We do have a deep clan. Clan Deepvein are one of the elder clans, and they're sort of known for never coming to the surface. Like they live almost their entire lives underground for the most part, and they never come above if they can avoid it, right? Yeah, they're like as deep as you can possibly go in the earth before you get to the basically the shell that encapsulates Yogg. So we have the Deep Clan, and they're kind of the Darkness Clan, but not exactly the same. Food is interesting. In terms of like what they eat, they have goats, and I think they do a lot of like mushrooms and stuff. We've talked about them eating some kinds of rocks that are like magically prepared, right? That's like a delicacy, like caviar or something. Shadow Clan makes the best hydraulic engineers. They're the ones that pull out the water for Coombe to drink. The water runs deep and in the darkness. Pest control. Yeah, we have a water clan. The Iron Springs are a water clan. There is a clan that has like an underground sea that is associated with Iron Spring. Yeah, there's like a big cistern, and one of the elder clans like keeps track of it. Agriculture is cool. Like mushrooms, goblin exterminators, pest control, sanitation in general is funny to me to keep the mind clean. Goats, mushrooms, and algae. Yeah, it's tough because like I think they definitely have. Do dwarves care about cleanliness? I mean, I think they do. Yeah, I think sanitation and sewers is interesting as a clan idea. Sanitation. How do you spell sanitation? I think you wrote it, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna copy Al's from chat because I don't want to spell sanitation. And Arial. Sanitation / sewers. Okay, how many ideas do we have? We should pick one. Sewers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ideas. Let's get maybe one more, and then we should pick one that we want to focus on. I'm drawn right now towards food cooking, sanitation, sewers. Most OCD clan ever. Architects, engineers is nice and generic too. Also do the dead, because I've wondered how dwarves deal with it. Yeah, the dead, that's cool. The dead. So we have a couple things with the dead that I know of how they think of them. So the dwarven god of the dead is Kavish, who is also sort of the god of drinking and memory and storytelling. And so she's sort of about honoring the deeds of the dead. and it's the idea of like living on in memory, right? They're all about memory and they're all about history. There is a necropolis as one of my location ideas that has some plot related to it, but I don't really have very much figured out about that. I don't know what the dwarves do with their dead. The idea of a sort of like gravekeeper clan is kind of interesting. You know, someone who like shepherds over the dead and watches over them. You know, obvious stuff like, do they cremate them? It seems like they would bury them, right? Like they're all about the earth. I could see them turning them to stone, potentially, like petrifying them is kind of interesting. Like to return them to the earth. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that's good. Which one of these are we most interested in? We have a labor union, mine safety, architects, engineers, priesthood, shadow clan, food cooking, underground sea, sanitation sewers, and the dead. I could see dead and priesthood being similar. What do y'all think? Is there an option there that we like more than others? Oh, I got a text. Hold on. Okay. I'm leaning towards food cooking. I think is good. I think the dead is cool. Maybe that's like the dead. Like there's a dead priesthood is sort of the same idea. I like the sewers. Yeah, the ferryman clan. No one knows what they do with the dead. They just come in the shadows and take the dead with them. It's kind of cool. Sanitation sewers. Architects, engineers. We'll do that one, maybe. Let's do food. I think the dead is interesting. I think we can do that in a future stream, because I think I want to figure out this necropolis too. But let me put down your idea. Ferryman appear from nowhere. That almost seems like that's not a clan so much as it is just like a monster or an effect. Soylent Dwarf. Appear from nowhere, collect the dead. It reminds me a little bit of the law system that we have, where it's like this series of 7 undead judges that just show up, right? And they come from the necropolis, that barrow. So yeah, let's talk about food. What does a cooking dwarf do? Cooking / food. Like agriculture is interesting to me, right? That like they don't grow very much. They can't. They're underground, so they don't really have the soil, but they could get mushrooms. It's tough because I feel like you quickly stray into sort of like a sci-fi direction. I think if you go this way, that like they eat algae and mushrooms and stuff. Do dwarves lactate? I mean, I assume. Are you saying they would like drink dwarf milk? I assume that they lactate if they're humanoids, right? All right. Thanks, Alan. Listen, that's something you can Google on your own time, buddy. He wants to know how many nipples dwarves have. Oh, it would be feared, sure. Yeah, I get it. I'm not saying they'd be feared, but we can talk food. I think death is good. Yeah, I think if they needed cheese, they would get it from goats, right? Food is Soylent Green. They eat other dwarves. No, that's silly. Like, because that's the thing. You think of them as like, you know, eating like Gimli describes it, just like meat off the bone and stuff like that. You think of them as like being these like big like hearty eaters, but like they're not getting any bread down there. You know, they're not cheeses they could get from goats, I guess. But I feel like they're not all tending goats. You know, like. But it also feels weird for me that they would eat just mushrooms and algae. That feels like something like a deep gnome would do, right? But like a dwarf. Like rats, you know, that all seems gross. I mean, is it the opposite? Is it that they used to eat that stuff, and now they like that's one of the big benefits of trading. Dwarves lactate beer. Hey Jack, thanks for coming and hanging out. And that's a good question too, right? We have a couple brewer clans, but like where are they getting the hops and stuff like that? Is food one of the things that they have gotten, like they used to eat like mushrooms and algae and cave fish and stuff like that, and that's still seen as like traditional food. But now with sort of the advent of trading with humans, that's where they're getting stuff like bread and cheeses, and like they're able to raise some goats on the mountains. But I like the idea that like cuisine and cooking is something that comes to them from humans. It could be a surface clan. I think that makes sense, because there definitely are a few of those. What do you mean, Jack, by dwarven? Like a dwarven hall? I mean, yeah, definitely. There's lots of those. Why not have them farm the foothills? Yeah, I think they could. I think they just don't have like a good sense of farming. I think that maybe it's like a Mongolia thing where like the climate is just wrong for farming. Like the ground is not usable, it's not tillable, it's like rocky and arid. The winters are so cold, that like it doesn't thaw until early summer. I could see them definitely being like herders, and shepherds, and having lots of like, again, we talked about like goats. Weird Japanese products you don't know it's made from seaweed or soy. Yeah, that's cool, Jack. So the idea, I think, is that they have what are called guest gates. So they have like they don't have farms, I guess, but they have this is an area where you can come and you can trade with us. But it's like highly, defensible. It's the dwarves in Anduin are very against, are very isolationist. Like they don't really like to interact with other people. They have to by necessity, and that's one of their big tensions is that they need to trade, but they don't like doing it. So they definitely have their entrances are called guest gates, and they're like heavily barbicaned, and they can do the little like trading and stuff that way. They will also generally send dwarven merchants into human communities rather than inviting humans into their areas. But the idea of having places where they can farm, definitely mountain lakes, picking potatoes off the ceiling. Oh, that's interesting. Root vegetables is cool. Here, I should be making a list of like potential food ingredients. So goats and herding gets you milk and cheese, meat, root vegetables is great. So like tubers, potatoes, etc. Mine the shrooms in the ceiling of the mountain, so the mountain climb inside to get the food. Yeah, mushrooms is big. Cave fish. I think that's cool. Bugs. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that like you eventually get to this place where like it gets really weird and unfantasy. The idea of like we eat bugs feels wrong for dwarves. It just doesn't feel very classically fantasy. It feels very sci-fi to me, and that's like this problem you get into. Like I like the idea that they are like becoming increasingly dependent on humans and on surface food. I think surface food is a big deal for them. I think they used to eat a lot of stuff like this, like traditional food. Cave creatures, bugs, algae, etc. Like that's like traditional old times cuisine. But like sort of modern food is stuff like bread, because like again you would have to have them get access to things like beer, right? Like maybe they're brewing like mushroom beer or something like that in the old days, but now that they have access to hops and wheat, right, like they're able to stew and ferment these alcohols. Bread, cheeses, fruits, like I like the idea that's the big import for them. Like cloth and textiles to some extent, but they have access to wool and they have access to silk. So I think that like they're able to make most of their own clothes. But I think it's like certain kinds of food that they're just like incapable of growing. Vegetables. They depend on human spices. That's really big, dude. You're totally right, Jose. Spices. So we don't need Elder Clan here. Japanese pickle a bunch of stuff. French cooking is very seasonal and about using up surplus. Their constraints are that they don't know how to farm, right? Like, that's what's weird. So it's like all artificial constraints. Like, they're underground for the most part, so they don't have any access to sunlight. They have, some of the clans would have access to illuminite, and maybe you could make some argument that they could grow it. Maybe that's one of the clans. One of the things Bright Shard did is they grew like vegetables and stuff. So they're underground. They can't really grow. And they, like, constraints are like aesthetic constraints for me. Like, I don't like the idea of them eating bugs. Like, it doesn't fit with your image of what a dwarf does. Underground, no light, lots of humidity, and a closed ecosystem. Yeah, he's got it. Supply salt. Ooh, yeah. So they're good at preserving. I was able to supply salt because you can mine it. Yeah, they're good at salt. Salt and preservatives. I think they also are good at, like, fermenting, right? Because they're all about beer. Good at fermenting. Excuse me. Yeah, so lots of salt. Salt is the one they have, but they don't have, like, saffron or any of that stuff. Peppercorn, chilies. They don't have any of that, I don't think. Because peppercorn is grown, right? I don't know anything about peppercorn. Peppercorn. It's a black pepper, yeah. Putrefied foods and preserved foods, then. Yeah. So, like, I wonder if it's like sauerkraut. You know? That there's, like, there is some kind of, like, underground. Yeah. Underground. Like, I was thinking they might have some kind of an animal that they can raise below. They might have, like, deep goats or something like that. Yeah, I think sauerkraut is cool to me. Northern European vibe. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Kind of a Nordic sauerkraut. Like, I like the idea that there are some plants that they find down below, and they, you know, are able to pickle and ferment them. I don't know about chickens. Chickens feel weird. It's frack. Frack. You can probably keep chickens in. Yeah, you probably could. But I feel like they have to, like, go to the surface and, like, oh, shit. Are you saying, like, frack isn't, like, fuck? Like, from... I thought you were, like, suggesting frack as a kind of a food. Yeah, there's something about, like, okay, we don't have any food down here, so we ran up to the surface and we grabbed the chicken, and then we brought it down below and raised it in the darkness. Like, that feels... like, it acknowledges the fact that there's no food below. I feel like they would have to have their own... And again, I understand being picky. They'd have to have their own, like, ecosystem below that they could survive on. I like the fermenting. I think sauerkraut is a great example of a dwarven food. You ever hear of a mountain chicken? It's not exactly what you'd expect. I don't know what a mountain chicken is. What are other, like, fermented foods? Pickles, fermented fish, kimchi, sauerkraut, sour beer, yogurt. Oh, yogurt. Yeah, chicken feels weird to me for them. Yogurt, food produced by, yeah, bacterial fermentation of milk. And all the kind of stuff you find underground, yeah. Underground monsters. I like the idea of yogurt. Pickling. I think pickling is cool. I almost want to do like lutefisk or something like that. Because lutefisk is like, is that like, what do you treat with lye? Okay, I forget where you get lye from. Lye. Alkali, high soluble in water. Where does it come from? Like, where do you get it? It's a metal hydroside. I don't know what lye is. Mountain chickens are a type of frog? Oh. Oh, yeah, that's cool. No worry, Jose. I didn't realize. I was like, oh, what's frack? I was, like, going to go look it up. Sauerkraut, yogurt, pickling. Like, kimchi is interesting to me, right? Like, they would have that kind of stuff. Okay, so we have a lot of ideas for food here. I still think that like there is this like division between is cob with lie. Yeah, I don't know, where does lie come from. I don't understand the origin of lie, but I think there is this division of like traditional dwarven cooking is like stuff you find underground, right? Like sauerkraut and kimchi and mushrooms and stuff like that. Probably some meat from some things they can hunt and capture down there. Cave fish, things like that, algae, maybe some bugs in some cases, right? That there's this kind of like, but it's seen as being like poor quality food. Like it's not particularly nourishing. It's not particularly like. I think the dwarven attitude. Oh yeah, okay. So the dwarven attitude towards eating is very different than it is now. It used to be just like a chore. It was like a thing you had to do, and they didn't take any pleasure in it, any joy in it. It wasn't any good. It was like, okay, there's this cave moss we have to boil until it's edible, and then we eat it, and then you go back to work. Like it's about like nutrition and not about taste or flavor. And then as they start to like, I think dwarves can eat and drink stuff other people can't. That's totally true. So I think, but then as they started to have trade with the surface and these other foods started to come in, then it suddenly became like, oh, things can taste good. Like they never had sugar before. You know what I mean? Like never had a lot of these things. They didn't have fruit. They didn't have sugar. And like their beers were like made from mushrooms. It was basically like kombucha, right? Like, and so as they started to trade with the surface, they began to realize all the things that they were missing from a culinary fashion. So like philosophy. So who's this clan then? Is this like a surface clan who deals with? Are they like traditional dwarven cuisine? Are they sort of like embracing the new thing? And like goats are maybe the bridge. Goats were a thing that they could start to raise on the surface, and then they could use to make milk and things like that. And that slowly started to like lead them into these other kinds of food. So who is this clan? Like, is this clan? Are they just expert cooks? Do they have they perfected old dwarven cuisine? Have they perfected new cuisine? Like, what's their shtick? You know what I mean? So rocks, their own beards, and goat hooves. I think rocks is one thing that they do eat. I think that like rocks, magically prepared, highly delicate, like a delicacy, right? It's not, even though they have a lot of it, it's like only certain types of rocks and only in certain conditions, and it's like the centerpiece to a meal, right? It's like a gold leaf or something like that. Like, oh, they put stones on this. Fried food. I mean, I think, yeah, the question is just what, right? Calcium rock. It's done by burning out of the deposition of calcium oxide. So yeah, like lie, I think makes sense. I like the idea that like it's all gross. Like none of it tastes any good. All these things that they make are not, not what like a traditional palate would like, and that they didn't realize you could have tasty food. That food was not considered enjoyable basically up until a certain point when they started to get things like sugar and saffron and these other spices in that made them suddenly realize like, oh, you could just eat this and this is tastier. Okay, so let's try to narrow in on the clan itself. If they're like cooks. We have like a goat herding clan already, so we probably don't want to do that. The idea of dwarves are really yucky little guys grabbing up giant snails and pan-frying salamanders and stuff. Ew. Making their human guests barf. Yeah, I think there's something kind of funny about that. I think that's the old style, right? Again, I think we have this division. Like really yucky little guys. That feels very gnomish to me, right? Grabbing up giant snails and pan-frying salamanders and stuff. Like, yeah, there's something kind of fun about that they have this like these taste buds that are just like inedible. I don't think they eat their own beards, but like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Again, I think that's all like, I think like dwarves can like stomach stuff that nobody else can eat, right? Like, so it's a lot of putrefied food. I think you're right, Okay, who's this clan? We gotta bang this clan out. We got 20 minutes. Who is the clan? They're cooks, right? That's their primary thing. Do they cook traditional Dwarven cuisine, or do they cook new stuff? My instinct is to say that they cook new stuff. Is there a schism in the clan? Old versus new. Oh, yeah. Perhaps the clan is the head of a guild. We play around with the idea of chain restaurants in the halls of valor. I think there is a schism in the clan, David. That's cool. Politics. There's a schism in the clan. Or was, right? One branch prefers the old style of cooking. The other branch has embraced the new innovations that come with trade. Spices, breads, sugars. Yeah. Food Clan is probably more erudite. Like, I do, yeah. Okay. So how do they, like, get started? What's their... I mean, they feel like they're maybe associated with the Bright Shards, right? Like, they feel like a clan that has more obvious direct outside influence. Maybe they're the opposite. Maybe they're, like, a deep clan. Make them like Japanese cuisine culture. It has an exodus where they send young chefs to get food from the outside world and bring... Ooh. Yeah. Maybe we do the opposite of that. Maybe they're like a deep... That's cool. I like that. Maybe they're like a deep clan, right? They're one of the like traditionalist clans, and they're all about like the perfection of Dwarven cuisine. And they're super snobby about it, right? Chef Knights Errant. They're super snobby about it. And they're like, the best way to make this kind of kimchi. And it's like all like underground plants and mushrooms and stuff like that. And it's like basically inedible to humans. Like humans just can't eat it, and it doesn't taste very good. But like they preserve all these old recipes and these traditional ways of doing things. But then more recently, they have started to send like either like, I kind of like the idea that it's like done covertly, that like dwarves have started to like smuggle in other spices. So they're trying to smuggle in like sugar or saffron or whatever, and they started to like tinker with the old recipes and have created these new things based on like trade with humans. So like the old guard, the establishment, is very against this, but like the younger chefs and the younger cooks in the clan are all about experimentation and trying new things. Under a year, so they get banned or they get applauded. So specialty. Cooking. There we go. Cooking. Traditional Dwarven dishes. Underground. Fermented mushrooms. Lutefisk. Sauerkraut. How do you spell sour? Kraut. Etc. They're smuggling in new foodstuffs to the new generation, or what you have taught. Yes, that's absolutely what it is. I don't know if they have like a traditional smuggling ring, but I'm trying to find a way to, because this is a minor clan, but I'm trying to find a way to have like these implications be like spreading. So it's like maybe they do a thing where they send out, because if this clan is all about like the old recipes, there wouldn't be a lot of change. They would just constantly make the same stuff. So there wouldn't be a need to send people out, because they would just say, like, this is the way it has always been made, and we do not make it another way. The radicals and hardliners. So, like, how is that changing? And it feels like this is something that would have happened a long time ago, because they've been in contact with humans for a long time. But maybe it's like a two-party system, like David was saying. It's like a strict schism. So there are some that believe in experimenting, and there are some that don't. And it's maybe it's not like a power dynamic thing. I was imagining like the mainstream is the old stuff, and then like the subversive new stuff is like an underclass, or like is done secretly. I think they might just be like, it might have been that way at one time, but now I think it's like leveled out, and there's just like, you're basically either like, on the left or the right. Are you a progressive cook, or are you a conservative cook? And it's like, that's the loggerheads you're constantly at, right? I think that's kind of neat. these two factions are constantly at war. I mean, not really, right? Constantly at odds with one another. None can decide. Like, but like, how does that manifest? You know what I mean? Like, all started when they discovered humans existed, and one of them offered the dwarf a cookie. But yeah, I mean, it's basically something like that, right? That the influence of human food and human cuisine has kind of corrupted them a little bit. Two philosophies. So these have sprouted in the clan. I like the idea that they didn't view food as something that you could get pleasure out of. You know? Like, that's very interesting to me. Originally, they believed that food was I don't know about sacred, but like food was a duty, not a pleasure. You eat to survive, so you can work more. And how the food tastes is utterly irrelevant. Only in recent years has the idea of cooking for fun, has the idea of eating for fun or taste arisen among dwarves, brought about by the advent of certain human culinary traditions, or culinary ingredients, such as human ingredients makes something they eat people. Ingredients, that's not how you spell ingredients, I don't care, such as sugar or bread. Is there stuff that dwarves can't eat that's totally normal for humans, like chocolate for dogs? I don't know. I like thinking they introduced salt to humans, and the humans thinking that eating a rock is gross and insane, but now it's in everything. Oh, that like humans eat rocks now? Oh, that salt is the yeah. That's funny. Yeah, that's cool. That like salt was introduced to humans by dwarves, and yeah, they originally was like, that's nuts. Why would you do that? But now they can't stop eating it. Yeah. So ancient history. They preserved all the old recipes and were considered the best cooks in the kingdom. They have some like ancient, like, I don't know what that means, Jose. I'm sure that's some kind of cooking reference. I'm sorry, I don't know. To a specific meal structure, like how we all have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but then it's more rigid without the cultural evolution. Yeah, that's cool. Rigid meal structure, like meant to incorporate, like it's like meant to slot into a workday, right? And it provides, you require this amount of nutrition after this amount of length of working. It almost has like a circadian rhythms thing, right? Where they know at this time you need to eat this amount, and it's very like regimented. Best cooks in the kingdom. Their style. What is that? Oh, sorry. I don't watch any anime, Jose. I'm sorry. I'm bad. I hope other people in the chat are getting that reference, because I don't get it. I'm sorry. I watch some anime, but not enough, obviously. Is influenced by. Yeah, that's cool. I like that, Jack. Influenced by human cuisine. Is slowly influenced by human cuisine. Okay. Seven Sorrows. Did they stick around? I mean, nobody stuck around, but like, did they return? Is it recent, or should be maybe campaign? Ancient Seven Sorrows. So these terrible things are happening. They're a deep clan. Do you get to... No. That's stupid. If you eat human food, you get like so tall, you guys. That's very goofy. No, I don't think you get tall. Seven Sorrows, and then recent. I'm sorry, Alan. I'm not trying to say your idea is stupid. I just mean it's goofy. It made me laugh. Um, so I don't know. Did they come back? Did they? How do they react? If they're a deep clan, I think they're probably associated with like Deep Vein, and there's a lot of trouble with troglodytes down there. So they could have been wiped out. That means wouldn't really interact with them. So it feels like maybe they should stick around. I feel like I don't have like a good idea of like what they do besides cooking. Like, do they send cooks to other clans? Like, what's their thing? You know, how do they? What if it's a superstition among the traditionalists to deter people from trying the new food? Oh, look at you, Jack, coming around, making that work. You guys are so smart. I dismissed his idea too early. Are they also medical to look after the health of people they feed? Yeah, I don't know if it's like health, but I like the idea that they're very concerned about like, you know, your nutrition. They're like nutritionists, apothecary type. Yeah, maybe. They're kind of like they brew. Let's keep the grain stores full. Yeah. Meat cleavers. Yeah. I think they have to be. Because it feels like, again, like the other clan's specialties are all like things that they make, you know? I mean, I guess with the exception of a couple of like sort of warrior clans, right? Like the Oath Shields are all about their service they provide. So it's kind of similar. But are they like the king's cooks? Like whose cooks are they? You know, like how do they spread their gift? Like we had talked about like the Japanese thing where they send chefs out into the world. So maybe they do that. Maybe they like any hold worth its like salt has a cook from this clan, right? Worth its salt has a cook from this clan. They like send them out and make like marriage alliances and things, right? Because cooking isn't the kind of thing you can just like make at home. People have to eat it, you know, for you to know that it's good, that you did a good job, you know. I think that's kind of cool. Other clans. It is a tradition to send, well, who says getting food hunting is not dangerous? They stoke the forge. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Alan's good. You're smart. They stoke the forge. And I'm just going to write that down exactly. Every dwarf. A well-fed dwarf does good work. Does better work. Yeah, it's tradition to send these dwarven cooks out to add copy for the clan. Yeah, I love that. To other clans where they work in exchange. Yeah, at 8:30, right? Okay, cool. Exchange for. Okay, guys, I think I gotta run. Let me finish this sentence real quick. Work in exchange for, like, yeah. It's like they just go and they just do it out of the goodness of their hearts, you know? Because like, they don't have trade, right? Well, we'll figure that out. That's okay. I'm getting distracted. Somebody's trying to get in this room. I think it's cool. We don't have a name. That bothers me. But we can talk about that maybe next time. Great, everybody. I think we did a lot of good work. I wish we got more time to talk about this clan. But I think we have I think we talked a lot about food, which is cool because it's something I wanted to talk about the last time. We didn't get a chance to. And we managed to figure this out. Cinderpots. Cinderpot's actually kind of cool. Clan Cinderpot. That's cool. I like that. We'll think about it, but I think that's definitely a strong candidate. Yeah, thanks for coming out, Jack. Great to have you. Great for everybody coming out and giving me their suggestions. We'll post another poll next week to see if we can talk about something else, but I think that's good progress, everybody. Okay, I will talk to you everybody later. Sorry to jet, but I think we are in a very good place with our campaign. Thanks, folks. Talk to you later. Bye.